Good afternoon. I'm Katelyn Matson, and this is the Green Room. The Bryce Luty Jazz Festival. It's a staple here in central Kansas. It is an event that every year people look forward to attending. And certainly, if you are from the Kansas area, the central Kansas area, and have performed here or enjoyed music or jazz here anytime in the past 3 decades, 4 decades, you know the name Bryce Luty. Well, the director of the Bryce Luty Jazz Festival, Greg Weis, is here with me in the green room to talk all about what's going on the first week in February. Hi, Greg.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So happy you're here to talk about the Bryce Luty Jazz Festival. It is hosted by HCC, Hutch Community College.
Yeah, it's going to be a great year this year. This is actually going to be for the educational side of the festival, this is going to be the largest festival we've ever had. We have 28 high school and middle school bands signed up to work with our guest artists this year.
So this is a week-long festival, and it is focused on student musicians. They get to have master classes, with the clinician, study under his tutelage, and he gets to, lead them in some concerts. What all is in store?
So Thursday and Friday during the day from about 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., we will have all 28 of those bands come through. They'll give a performance, and we'll have three adjudicators that'll be judging them. One is going to be our guest artist, Jeff Coffin. Another one's going to be Dr. Sean Williams, who's assistant professor of jazz trumpet at the University of Northern Colorado. And then David
Mm.
Mescatique, who is one of the jazz professors at the University of Wyoming. And then one of them will lead them in a 30-minute clinic working on the jazz music they just performed.
Let's go back. Jeff Coffin. Not many people are going to perk up when they hear that name, but they certainly will when they hear what groups he has been a part of.
Yeah, so Jeff is the current touring saxophonist for the Dave Matthews Band. He also was a saxophonist for Bella Fleck and the Flecktones. So if you're a jazz fan, you've probably heard of that group before. He's a three-time Grammy Award winner, but he's also recorded with people like Willie Nelson and Kenny Chesney.
Hmm. And he's a composer. He's everything. He's a saxophonist, but he's everything. He's a composer as well.
Yeah, he plays all the saxophones. He plays flute. I believe he plays some clarinet as well. He's a woodwind specialist, basically.
This is such a wonderful thing for the students to be involved in. Is it both? Is it high school age jazz bands or college or a mix of both?
High school and middle school, we do have Central Christian College will be coming as well. They're the only college outside of Hutchinson Community College that'll be participating. But then, of course, my students at the college get to work with Jeff as well and perform with him.
Do they get to perform on the final concert with him?
Yes, yeah. So they'll be performing half of the final concert with Jeff, and then the other half will be with the Bryce Luty All-Star Big Band, which is basically all of the best professional jazz musicians from around Hutchinson and around Wichita will be performing there. So people like Jim Pisano and William Flynn, who local jazz fans might be familiar with.
Definitely, those are very familiar names. I think it's so wonderful that there is such a history celebrating jazz here in central Kansas. Can you talk about the history of the festival and also Bryce Luty?
Yeah, Bryce Luty gets a lot of credit around Hutchinson, but maybe not around the state. Really an amazing jazz educator, came here in the 70s and started the first collegiate jazz program in the entire state of Kansas at Hutchinson Community College, before KU, before Kansas State, and before Wichita State, which is pretty incredible, and was bringing in amazing guest artists year after year, people like Clark Terry and Bob Brookmeyer. And so we're trying to get back to that tradition that he set up.
I think that's so fantastic. And it's such a wonderful reminder that amazing things, amazing art, amazing music can happen no matter where you land.
Absolutely, and it's really is a pleasure that the students that come in to work with Jeff, not only are they going to get really great information about the music they're performing, but they're also working with somebody who's the best in the world at what he does. And so they're going to pick up some sort of tidbit about his work ethic, how he continues to be a student of the music, and hopefully be able to bring that into whatever their professional life ends up being when they're in college and afterwards.
Hmm. We're going to listen to a piece by Jeff Coffin. The title of this piece, let's see, we chose a track that was titled "The Mad Hatter Rides Again." What are we about to listen to?
It's just gonna be some funky music, kind of based on the blues. It's a tune that Jeff wrote.
We'll be back to talk more with Greg Weis, about the Bryce Luty Jazz Festival. Jazz just seems impossible to me. How does somebody do that? How is that possible? What does somebody as a musician have to start paying attention to and studying in order to have the confidence and the knowledge to do that, Greg Weiss?
Well, certainly the overall technique on your instrument is mostly the same as you would experience if you wanted to be a really great classical musician or rock musician. You know, there's things like scales, technical exercises, articulation that you'd work on. But the one thing that really sets jazz apart from other music is that to be a great jazz musician, you really need to be a student of the lineage of jazz. Everybody who's played on your instrument, you know, for me as a trumpet player, it's people like Clark Terry, Chet Baker, Miles Davis, Clifford Brown, both studying and knowing their music and listening to it, but also transcribing it, which means writing down their solos and then learning how to play them yourself.
Mm, yeah. We're talking and listening to jazz together during what is typically a classically programmed hour of music here at Radio Kansas. Jazz is so important. It's pivotal in the development of 20th century music and beyond. It has influenced every single genre of music since its own inception. And we can't even talk about music of any kind, post the discovery of jazz, post around, 1910, 1915, without talking about jazz and the effect it has had on music. And, today we're listening to things, music by Ravel. We listened to a piece by William Grant Still, things that are very obviously influenced by this genre. What would you want classical music lovers to kind of take away from this conversation, somebody who might not otherwise give jazz the light of day, the time of day?
Well, I would say, especially when we're talking about somebody like Jeff Coffin, this is an individual that I know has also studied quite a bit of classical music. Most jazz musicians of the 20th, late 20th and early 21st century have studied a great deal of jazz music because we have jazz in the universities now. So you're getting both jazz and classical music. And I think classical music fans probably understand the idea of, especially if you're a modern classical music fan, understand the idea of being able to absorb multiple types of genres into your style. It happens a lot with like composers like John Adams today. And for Jeff, not only is he bringing in the jazz influences, the funk influences, and the rock influences and classical influences, but actually in some of his music, he even is bringing Indian music in, or he's bringing South African music into his own styles. So I think that's something that everybody can be interested in.
Yeah, I think so too. And again, this how amazing it is that there's this history of such a vibrant jazz program at a community college. It isn't what you would expect, but as we said, Bryce Luty started the Bryce Luty Jazz Festival. He had an incredibly thriving program at Hutch CC and started this festival to bring in major jazz performers from around the country. Uh, and now it's just kind of grown to being this multi-day affair. I think it's just really, really wonderful. And how very exciting to have Jeff Coffin come. Again, if people don't know Jeff Coffin's name, he's the lead saxophone player for the Dave Matthews Band, also played for Bella Fleck.
Yeah, and I think even if you're not familiar with Jeff, tickets to this concert are just $10 if you're an adult, or $8 if you're a senior, $5 if you're a high school student or child. I can tell you that there are many people around the world who travel a great amount of distance, pay quite a lot of money to be able to hear Jeff play with either Bella Fleck and the Flecktones or the Dave Matthews Band, and you get to hear him right here in Hutchinson for just $10. It'll be worth the ticket for sure.
Yeah, and in a completely different atmosphere than you'd usually see him. He's not up there with his regular group. It's him. He's being featured. He's a featured soloist. Are you playing some of his compositions?
Yeah, most of what we'll be playing with Jeff is going to be his own compositions.
Yeah, it's such a great way to kind of get a deeper understanding of him as a musician in the context of him performing with Dave Matthews. So great. So let's go over the logistics. When is it? Where is it? What time?
Yeah, so I think most people are going to want to know about the main concert. That's going to be Friday, February 2nd at 7 p.m. in the Stringer Fine Arts Center. And you can order your tickets early just by calling 620-665-3503. But there's also other events that are free and open to the public. So, for instance, if you want to come check out the high school groups on Thursday and Friday of next week, you are welcome to do that. We'll post the final schedule to our Facebook page online. But also, there's going to be a free and public masterclass in the Stringer Fine Arts Center Performance Hall on Thursday, February 1st at 12 p.m. that folks are welcome to join as well.
If they're on Facebook, what do they search up to find the page that's going to have the information?
Just search Hutchinson Community College Jazz.
Hutchinson Community College Jazz. We're very proud of the jazz program at HCC. We're very proud of the Bryce Luty Jazz Festival. I'm a Kansan, born and raised. My father was a brass player, a jazz musician, and actually a really good friend of Bryce Luty's. So whenever I get to talk about this jazz festival, it just warms my heart a little bit because I have my own memories about jazz here in Central Kansas and Bryce specifically.
Yeah, I never got to meet Bryce, but I hear all the time from people around the state and even professional musicians across the country just how much he meant to them.
Yeah, it's true. All right. The Bryce Luty Jazz Festival on the campus of Hutchinson Community College. Concerts, master classes, anything you would want to come see is going to take place at Stringer Fine Arts Center on HCC campus. The final concert featuring the music and the talents of Jeff Coffin, who plays with the Dave Matthews Band, is Friday, February the 2nd, beginning at 7 o'clock. You can buy tickets at the door or in advance. And for any information that you want about the festival, search out the Hutchinson Community College Jazz Department on Facebook or the website directly. We've been talking with Greg Weis, who's the director of the festival and also the director of jazz at HCC. Thank you for taking the time and bringing your music to us. I really love this hour doing something a little bit different. And we're kind of expanding it into the day a little bit. We're going to get ready and listen to some Maurice Ravel, his piano concerto in G, influenced by jazz, no doubt about it.
Thanks so much for having me.